So we are here and we are covering the 2025 Summer Movie Preview Series. This is episode number 4 and of our series here. Thank you so much for following along with us. And today we are going to cover all things Mission Impossible 8, Final Reckoning. But before we do that, we would like to shout out to our sponsor, National Tax Solutions, Christopher Bennett and his team for the fine work that they do. So we have a quick shout out from them for you guys so you can hear a little bit about who they are and what they do.
Chris Bennett and his team are wonderful people. You know, in Palm Bay, Fort Pierce, are tax problems weighing you down? Are you behind on some filings, facing a lien? You know, Nashville Tax Solutions is here with the expertise and dedication that you need. Their experienced team handles the IRS, so you don't have to. But don't just take Mike's word for it. Don't just take my word for it. Listen to what some actual clients of Chris Bennett and National Tax Solutions have had to say. Chris Bennett and his team turned a nightmare into peace of mind. They're sharp, they're honest, and they truly care. So don't let tax stress take over your life. Call 855-627-4829. Visit NashvilleTaxSolutions.com or email info@NashvilleTaxSolutions.com today. Nashville Tax Solutions, real help brings real results.
Thank you, Darren, and thank you, National Tax Solutions. And we are going to talk tonight about Mission Impossible number 8, The Final Reckoning. He looks like he's been through it all. That picture says it all right there. But this movie is coming out on May the 23rd, opposite of Lilo and Stitch. Hopefully you watched yesterday when we released episode number 3 for Lilo and Stitch, the live action remake, coming out the same day as this movie here, Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. And so we're going to talk about that movie a little bit and all that stuff. So let me give a quick synopsis here, and then I'm going to go to you, Darren. But in Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, Ethan Hunt and the IMF team face their ultimate challenge as they race against time to destroy a rogue AI called the Entity. The AI threatens global nuclear war and has infiltrated the world's technology, putting humanity in peril. Ethan must use a key to recover a hard drive containing an earlier version of the Entity, which he hopes to use to disable the AI. The mission involves a global pursuit, a dangerous underwater dive, and a complex web of alliances and betrayals. Ethan dies in the first 3 minutes of the film. So this is a very good description.
That is all, folks. Good night.
That's it. Yeah, I'd love to see that movie. I'm just telling you, I would watch it. Sign me up for that. But a lot there in there that giving away a lot there in this, and talks about AI. And so, Darren, just your thoughts on, if that's all you had to go of, if you couldn't watch a trailer, if you knew nothing more, does that have enough there to pull you in? And then I'd like to ask you about AI itself, just in general after that. But your thoughts on that little synopsis there, does that hook you in?
It was kind of wordy, but if you like action films, you're gonna like, that you're gonna like that description. And if you like mystery, you like. But at this point, there have been 8 of them. There was a TV show in the 60s. So, now I've been following, and in fact, I watched the first 2 or 3. Then I kind of gave 4 and 5 a break, 6 a break. But now I'm back onto it. So last we seen Tom Cruise. He was chasing an underwater, up in the North Pole area, submarine, deep down, and he's going to have to go get it to retrieve the old version of the AI. So I know exactly what's going on when you were talking about it. But has there ever been music as cool as the Mission Impossible music? I mean, that just reeks of 60s, and you just want to start running. Nobody knows where you're going, but you're on your way. You just run.
Yes, to just go. Now, let me ask you your preference, 2025, and if I had to ask you for the lump sum of all parts, not that they're the same movie, but are you more of a Mission Impossible guy, or are you more of what was that the other popular series that had like 15 movies, the other action series that was
Fast and Furious?
No, there were a lot of that one too.
Yeah, there's 10.
Right. James Bond movies. Yeah.
Well, very interesting. I love that. So basically, that is a great pull because basically Mission Impossible, in my opinion, tries to be that. And the last couple of James Bonds were great. The first few were okay. A lot of real bad stuff in the middle. I am more of a Mission Impossible guy at this point.
Okay. Yeah, same here.
I was going to say, how about you?
Yeah. So I'm actually, I am not an action movie fan. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not going to see them, but like if I had to rate my top 10 genres or whatever, I think action would be like number 9 or 10 for whatever, which is weird, right? Like men are supposed to love like action movies and things like that. And I'm not saying that I don't enjoy certain things. Like show me a good Transformer movie with a ridiculous amount of things blowing up and stuff like that. So I'm more of a thriller person, but thriller that I can't see coming. I don't want it to be. I'm not talking Lifetime originals. I'm talking like actual thrillers. Let's get that out of the way.
Let's meet at the Christmas tree farm.
Yes, right. So if I'm doing a movie night or something, my eyes just typically don't go to action movies. But of course, if they're on, it's funny too because if they're on, I'll watch some key parts, but I'll like lose focus a little bit and go try doing some other stuff and wait for the big moments. I guess I would say. But there have been some like I'm forever. Not that it was really. I mean, I guess it is, but like I loved like Speed, like old school. I love,
I want to stop you there. Remember how you talked about in one of our previous, and please everybody watch our reviews of these 30 movies. But you mentioned how we go maybe down a rabbit hole. I thought of you because I was rewatching The Wrestler. Right now, what would you call that? Kind of a pseudo documentary? Is it? And how true, in your opinion, is that movie?
I love that question. So for many levels. So number one, I'd call it a pseudo documentary / action, but I would more on the documentary. It's legitly true. I'm going to share. So right now, a perfect example. So there was a company, there was WWE and then there was WCW. And back in the 90s, those were the two promotions, right? They called it the Monday Night Wars. There was a third promotion called Extreme Championship Wrestling. And ECW didn't have the budget, but they had the heart. And a lot of what happened in ECW you see today in WWE and AEW, all the high-flying stuff that you see now was done by this ECW. And one of their top performers was a guy by the name of Sabu. And Sabu just turned 60 years old, and he just passed away.
He just passed.
Yeah. Right. So he wanted to have a retirement match. So he goes to a company called GCW and says, I'd like to be part of your show. I'm going to do a retirement match. So he takes on this guy named Joey Janela. But prior to this event, he was starting to get into bad health and stuff. Oh, no, I'll be there. I'm good. So he calls the promotion 2 hours before the show starts. And he says, I can't move my legs. I'm in the hotel room, but I can't get there. I'm just, Sabu can't go. This is actually not Sabu's words. This is his guy. He can't go. He can't be there. You're going to have to find a replacement. He's here in the city, but he just can't move. Well, he was so dead set on this. He had taken this drug called Cranium and all this kind of stuff. So the company calls and says, I don't care how you got to get him here. Get him here. It's too late now. Everyone's here to see Sabu. So Sabu takes this drug called Cranium. All of a sudden, he's getting a ride to the show. He's belligerent backstage. And they're like, oh, just do what you got to do. All of a sudden, the match starts off, and he looks like he's a little bit messed up, but he gets into the ring, the bell rings, and then he's just like back into 1990s mode. And he takes 2 bumps. If you get a chance, those of you who are watching the show, if you haven't already, check out the 2 bumps that Sabu takes in this match. One goes head first into barbed wire, and another he gets thrown to the ropes, and this is a ropeless barbed wire match, gets thrown to the ropeless ropes and hits his head on the outside and somehow gets back in the ring 3 minutes later and finishes the match. Now here we are just under 3 weeks later, he passes away. It's not now a lot of the promotion taking a lot of heat for this, but at the end of the day, Sabu is going to be Sabu, and he made the decision to get.
He made the decision,
yep. And so this is a guy who you could say went out on his own terms. Like this is what happens to professional wrestlers. A lot of them, so to speak, they are individuals who just love what they're doing so much, and even though they're not in front of the thousands and thousands anymore, they're in front of small houses and stuff. And this is actually one of their bigger shows, which had about 2,000 people, which again is nothing compared to what they used to be in front of. But they'll do whatever it takes to put their bodies into that shape to get them out there. And so, unfortunately, now GCW is, I would have never let him out there if they knew he was messed up. But then it's the stories aren't really adding up, because you're admitting in an interview that you knowingly knew that he took a drug Cranum before he came to the building. And so I'm not quite sure, and I'm sure things will work itself out and the truth will come out there. But so the long-winded to get there to say that's exactly, like, there's no embellishing in that movie. That's exactly how, unfortunately, most of these guys don't go out on their terms. John Cena, he said this is his last year. He's never wrestling again. He's doing a full tour. Most people don't go out like that. Most people wrestle. If you heard of the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express, still wrestling. They're both in their 70s and they're still wrestling today. It's insane. So
no, I get it. I'm not going to go into detail. We've talked about my conversation with Chubby Checker. I'll just give people who are watching this just a quick glimpse. He just got elected to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I remember, and this was in the 80s, where he was backstage at Brain Beach Bath and Racket Club. How many people were watching him? A couple hundred?
Right.
And I got him he wanted something to eat. I got him a pizza, and because I was doing security for him. And he was like, do you mind sitting down and just talk by himself? And he was there. And don't feel sad. As much as you could tell, he just loved performing. And, and I felt so honored and at the same time intimidated to sit with this legend.
Yeah.
And he just wanted to talk to Mike Redman. Do you know what I'm saying? He just wanted to talk to Chris Bennett, and he was, and like, he had enough money. He just loved performing.
That's good. No, I'm glad that you shared that. And when it comes to, so with this movie, Mission Impossible, again, like Darren said, it's going to be an action movie. It's going to be the last movie. I do believe that it'll be the last movie for a long period of time, at least. But our team here, you're on the ballpark. We just go over their rankings for this. Dakota with a 6, Aiden, my son, with a 7. Mission Impossible for Eileen gives it a 7. I give it an 8. So even though I'm not an action guy, I definitely see the appeal of this movie, and this will be something that I will see. And then Darren with an 8.5 rating there. So high, much higher. Those that watched yesterday, higher across the board than Lilo and Stitch, but completely different genre altogether. So this could be one of those, if you're able to make the movie theater twice in one weekend or twice in a week, definitely would suggest seeing both of these movies. Just because while we're more of a fans here on the show of Mission Impossible, both movies have potential here, and it's the summer. Why not go see a movie, stay indoors where the air conditioning is flowing? So let me ask you this question. So when in terms of this movie, Mission Impossible, what is your recommendation for people that have not seen 1 through 7 in terms of that stopping someone from going out and seeing part 8? What do you recommend them at least giving one of them a shot, or just go for it and we'll explain later? Like, what's your insight?
I think you should see it, because here's a man who does predominantly all his own stunts, and it is a thrill ride. You don't listen. It's an action movie. You don't need to have seen the other ones. There's not like, there's a big story. It's people wearing masks, and it's just a good action movie. It's like Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's like that kind of feel. And it's like you mentioned, lovely. It was lovely that you did this. You mentioned 007. Did you really need to see, The Spy Who Loved Me when you went to see, another one? No, because the movies aren't linear. Remember, when the movies first came out, Peter Graves was in the movie with Tom Cruise. You just go. It's fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Now,
Yep.
Here's my question before we hang up.
But I have one final question too, so you go first. Go.
Good. No, I want to go to you because you ask all these questions. I'd love to get your response. No Mount Rushmore, but give me your top 1 or 2 Tom Cruise movies of all time.
Of all time, so not Mount Rushmore of all time.
If you have 4, give me 4. That'll be Mount Rushmore. Give me a 4.
All right, so just Tom Cruise movies.
Yeah, just Tom Cruise.
Okay. Give me 30 seconds. Anything. So, well, right off the cuff, you'd have to put Top Gun Maverick on there. Well, that's for sure. I'm going to pause on the Mission Impossible just for a second so I can think if there's others there. But need to think here.
What you think
of course. It was there. I wanted to make sure the top of my list, just like I shared on the other episode. Jerry Maguire, of course.
I was going to say, show me the money.
I just the name. I want to make sure I have that one. It didn't do great in the reviews and stuff like that, but I'm a fan of that whole kind of genre. So I'll put War of the Worlds on there.
That was a good movie. That was very good. That's a
movie for sure.
That's one of those. I was going to ask you my next question. Your favorite underrated Tom Cruise movie?
That might be. I think you could say some people would put that underrated. I'm not quite sure, but so yeah, I would say those 3 for sure. And then I think thinking about it, when it comes to, as good as Mission Impossible series was and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to go ahead and put. I really enjoy the Minority Report, so I'm going to put that just above.
Very good.
So I know Mission Impossible will probably be number 5. I don't know which Mission Impossible, but those are the ones that I would go for.
No, I love everything about it. I would say my favorite underrated movie with him is All the Right Moves. He plays a 5'9" cornerback who gets into college, but that was just a fun. Love that movie. And again, Show Me the Money. Love that movie. What got written down here? Of course, Top Gun Maverick. Risky Business. How great was Risky Business?
Ooh, how great! Yeah.
Yeah. And and he didn't have a great big part in it, but he was in The Outsiders. He was in there. Pony Blinkers. What was the name of the movie where he got Jack Nicholson to admit to asking for the code red, where he plays the Navy. He's in the Navy and he's an attorney. And
it's not something with the green in it, right?
No, with Demi Moore. I got to look this up.
Yes. So while you're looking that up, I'm going to ask you my final question. To multitask, I think. So my final question, as you're looking that up, is who would be? This is kind of a fun question. Who would be the absolute worst pick? The absolute worst pick be the lead in Mission Impossible if it was not Tom Cruise? Like which action actor would be the absolute worst choice for a Mission Impossible franchise?
Pauly Shore.
Sure. I'd go with Nicolas Cage.
I would say Nicolas Cage because he'd want the role. Though I'm a big Nicolas Cage fan. By the way, if you ever see the movie Pig, seriously, underrated movie, Nicolas Cage, phenomenal.
phenomenal. I think there's another one, if I'm not mistaken, Matchstick Men. That was also Nicolas Cage.
That was very
that was
good.
under the radar, very good as well. Yeah,
I would say, but see, like, I would not want to see when he was in good health, of course. Like a Bruce Willis, because that would be too much like some of the other things that he's done. So who would you want not to see in that role?
In Mission Impossible role.
Yep.
I think just again, so I'm going to say this because I respect, I do like his work. I wouldn't want to see a Liam Neeson in that role. I think I'm a big Liam Neeson fan, but that would just be a miscast. Yeah.
So the movie I was thinking of was A Few Good Men. That's probably my favorite role that he's in. He's so good. He's so good in that.
So good there. So May 23rd, guys, check out Mission Impossible, the final reckoning.
Until the next one.
Until the next one. And so give it a shot, May 23rd. Check it out. Thank you so much for watching this episode. We've got 26 more for you to check out. So please make sure you turn your notifications on so you can catch out our release tomorrow with our next episode, with the next movie that we're talking about. Until then, guys, until next time, we'll see you in the lobby and around the ballpark. See you next time.